Welcome to Powering the Future podcast. Today, from Pluggy Energy Solutions, I have Imran and Shimon. Welcome to Mazda UK, guys.
Nice to meet you, Anita. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Anita. Thanks for having us. Great to be here.
So today we're going to talk about the energy infrastructure, the challenges that we're currently facing, and the solutions that are out there as EV ownership gains momentum. Shimon, why are we here today and why are we talking about solar? How can it really help our dealerships and our network?
Yeah, good question. So, I guess there's two key reasons here that we're really talking about this. One is the problematic energy prices. This is not just in the UK; it's worldwide, Europe-wide certainly. So, energy prices, as all business owners know, are fluctuate a lot. We've had in the past few years, the energy prices shot through the roof. They were extremely expensive. In the recent year or year and a half or so, they've gone down quite significantly, but still a lot higher than what they were a few years ago, and very unaffordable.
Yeah, there's that uncertainty still, isn't there, within the market?
There's a huge amount of uncertainty. Nobody really knows. There's a lot of predictions what will happen in the next 2, 3, 5 years. But nobody really knows. It's enough that there's some event happening in the Middle East or anywhere else that gas prices can shoot up. Electricity prices tend to be set due to gas prices. So there's still a huge amount of uncertainty. So there's energy prices are high. They're very high in the UK, and they're very uncertain. With solar energy, you get to reduce some of the intake of energy that we're talking about, electricity here, that you take from the grid. So it gives you some level of certainty on a can be a large proportion of your energy consumption. So you have an initial investment, and then you know exactly how much you're going to be paying for the next could be the next 25 years for that proportion of energy. So it gives you a certain stability there, which is important, as we know, for businesses.
Absolutely.
The other, not less important side is the whole ESG. So ESG is an acronym. It stands for Environmental Social Governance Goals that most businesses, probably 90% of businesses or so today, from small businesses to very large corporations, have these ESG goals. They relate to, in essence, they relate to the emissions that you contribute to as a business. We don't have to go into all the details, but there's different scope 1, 2, and 3 of what you do as a business. Part of that is the energy that you consume and how green that is effectively. So when you have solar energy, especially feeding your own business, you've also not only have you greened up, you've reduced your emissions from the energy that you're consuming, at least for part of the energy, but you've also contributed to what's called additionality element. So you haven't just bought energy from a wind farm in Scotland, for example, that's already there and would have been selling their energy to someone. You've created your own source, a new source of energy. So that's the additionality element. So there's quite a significant contribution towards your ESG goals as a business.
And picking up on fulfilling that energy gap. So what we see, or what I hear within our network, is that at the moment they have enough energy coming into their business. Yep. With the energy planning tool that we launched last year within the network, off the back of the original webinars, which you two were, instrumental with as well. We have kind of looked at what that energy gap is, and to me it seems that renewables, especially solar, seem to be one of the best options to plug that gap, for want of a better word, to ensure that our network is ready to have more energy consumption with the growth in their EV park that will be coming soon.
Yeah, absolutely. So we always stress that solar will not replace having solar energy. It doesn't matter how big the system is. It won't replace your grid connection. It won't replace completely your electricity intake from the grid. Obviously, if you have a bigger system, you'll need less electricity from the grid. But your energy consumption levels as a business, as a dealership, will increase. You'll probably already have seen quite a big increase because of electric vehicle charging. It'll only go one way. So solar energy feeding your business can only help with that. And again, it'll help on the price because the price will be stable. It'll be cheaper than what you bring in from the grid, and it'll replace some of the energy that you can bring in from the grid, so helping you with those additional energy charges.
Whilst also reducing costs and
Absolutely,
your burden
absolutely.
on the grid. That's really insightful.
Completely.
Imran, help us understand how renewables, and especially solar when I talk about renewables, can assist in a dealer's energy management. I'm going to call it an ecosystem. How can solar really help bring that ecosystem to life?
Good question, actually. So I guess by implementing solar, you're not only controlling the energy that you're pulling in from the grid, you're reducing your reliance on the grid. What it does, it gives you certainty of power. So you obviously, as soon as you have PV installed on your roof or a ground or a carport, you're actually locking in an element of energy. And what that does then is, if you have more EV charging, for instance, you're not pulling additional power from the grid. You're able to manage that power from the solar that you have installed. It also supports your building if you, for instance, have a building management system installed, like EV charging with vehicle to grid, for instance, which is a technology that you're familiar with. So a lot of people that are now implementing solar will maybe go for a solar carport, where they're implementing bi-directional charging, for instance, and then they're optimizing their building by utilizing the EV charging and the solar. So when the power prices are high, for instance, they'll charge up, they'll displace the battery of a vehicle, for instance. When the power prices are low, they'll charge the vehicle from the grid.
So they're kind of monetizing that energy generation.
That's right, yeah.
Depending on the demand and what that particular time of day is, or whether it's a peak time demand is high or whether demand is low.
Yeah, that's right. And in many cases now, PV systems are newly installed. They may have battery storage, for instance, if they've got nighttime use. So if dealerships are charging vehicles overnight, ready for customers during the day, they can then oversize the PV systems, install battery storage, where they're then able to use that battery in the evenings to charge those cars. That again brings everything together in terms of that whole ecosystem. There is many dealerships out there that we have worked with that may have had an existing solar PV system that they may have acquired when they've purchased the building. And what we found is a lot of these buildings have a small element of PV, so but the building owners don't actually know whether those PV systems are working. They might not be sufficiently sized for those dealerships. So what we do encourage you is to assess that PV system, number one, to make sure it's working, it's sized correctly for that building and for the purpose of the building building ecosystem. So
the energy consumption.
Yeah, so that it can fulfill that energy consumption that you have. Yeah. But you, as Shimon pointed out quite rightly, that solar does not take away from the fact that you've still going to be pulling power from the grid. Yeah. But what you're trying to do is to monetize that asset that you have.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And what we often find, I think, as well, is especially with car dealerships, even though their energy consumption can be relatively significant, they don't have half-hourly metering. I'm not sure if that's clear what we mean by half-hourly metering. Essentially, it's a meter that meters every half hour, and it reports that reading back to your energy supplier. So it's a modern way of metering energy. Yeah. And by having that, you have a lot more control and visibility of your energy consumption as a business throughout the day and between day and night. And so you can benefit from better tariffs from the energy supplier for day, for night. And that's increasingly important
it is,
when you've got EV charging. Yeah. You're pulling a lot of energy, either, let's say, for the element that you're pulling from the grid, you'll be wanting to charge those, if you can, at night, for example,
right.
rather
Yeah.
than at day.
Yeah.
And it's quite simple, actually. I think for the dealerships to find out whether they have got half-hourly metering. Usually, when they get their bills, it will say HH on there, which then defines whether they have a half-hourly meter. They're more of a digital sort of meter that they have, rather than one of the old analog type.
Yeah. I think it's essential, really, isn't it? Because we have had some dealers that have recently moved to half-hourly meter readings, and they have kind of actually seen that at 3 o'clock in the morning a compressor's coming on for 2 hours, which they wouldn't necessarily know about because somebody hasn't switched it off at the right time, or it's just been programmed to come on. So half-hourly meters are really, really, I think, quite fundamental in managing your whole energy strategy. And if you haven't got a half-hourly meter reading, then that is something that really does need to be addressed, and that can form part of any sort of renewable project, can't it? You can have that as part of that project. You don't have to do it before you have anything else.
Right. No, it can just forge part of the renewables proposition that you're implementing. I think it's important to actually look at the infrastructure. There's not only the half-hourly meeting. There's also the grid capacity that you have on the site as well. But again, that goes into a lot more sort of detail that we would look at when you look at the feasibility of the project.
Yeah. So you say you've worked with some of our dealers currently. So what exactly do you do? What and kind of what are the challenges? I know the blockers that I've received from within the network, and they're very simple blockers, as in I'm not too sure what to do, I'm not too sure where to start. I've had a local company come out and quote on solar, but I couldn't actually quantify it. I couldn't work out what my return on investment was because I had lots of different quotes and none of them really made any sense. The feeling is they don't know where to go and they don't know where to start.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, this is not uncommon in the commercial industrial sector. What you find is there's lots of different solutions out there. There's no right or wrong solution in terms of commodity. What there is a right and wrong solution on is what's actually being specified. And there's businesses out there that will provide a report, a feasibility study, a nice glossy feasibility study, but then they don't actually do the construction. And then you've got companies out there that are actually providing the EPC construction. And there tends to be a bit of a problem because you've got maybe unskilled to very skilled people. And then you've got consultancies to
local companies.
Local construction companies. So the best solution here really is to find a business that's actually fully accredited, that's got experience in working with dealerships, because their profiles are slightly different. And they provide an end-to-end solution there so that you not only have a feasibility study or the construction, but then they're operating it for that dealership for the ongoing period as well. And that way you get a bit more certainty that the project that they're having is going to provide them the ROI.
The return.
And I think that's very, very important. Is if you're paying capex for a PV system, you want to see the return, and that's almost one of the key things here.
And on average, what are returns are we looking at? I know that's quite hard to quantify because there'd be lots of different aspects that come into that. But what on average, what are the returns at the moment?
With the commercial industrial sector and dealerships that we've seen, the returns can be anything from sort of 2 to 5 years. But then when you incorporate the tax benefits within that, it can be on the lower end of the 2 years. And that's very, very important. And within this is to encompass that the tax benefits within there.
And we'll go into those tax benefits at a next podcast.
That's right. Yeah. And what we usually find is that with all those challenges that you've both been discussing about different a real inconsistency between the quotes that people get, the companies get, and a lot of times they vary a lot. But if the quote is from a small local company to a large maybe energy company offering that service, what we always find is just a very simple, sort of straightforward gate process that we like to run, and some others run as well. It's very helpful. So initially just a desktop assessment and design, just informing with a basic proposal and a basic description of the energy, almost like a little report for the owner of the business, and then followed with a more detailed site feasibility, a bit of development work that's needed in advance. You mentioned here, we won't go into it, but things like grid connection can be complicated for both EV charging and also for solar energy. So all that pre-construction element that goes in, and then once everything's agreed, then it's quite straightforward in terms of construction. For companies that know what they're doing, it's quite straightforward in terms of the construction and then the operation of the thing. So a very sort of simple, straight process. What we'd suggest is always have a provider who can manage that from end to end, rather than break it up, because otherwise you're the one as the business owner with the headache.
Yeah, and I think that's been some of the challenge in the past. So we know that, you know, some of the dealers that have gone through this end-to-end process, they've now got the product that they set out to you know, have at the very beginning.
It's designed for their needs, and if possible also for the future needs as well. So sized and designed for that. Yeah.
And I think just one other thing to add as well, that we've experienced with some of the dealerships, they may be worried that they have issues on roofs, and the roofs can't withstand the weight of the solar panels, for instance. That can also be bundled into a proposition, so that they wouldn't have to find a roofing contractor, for instance, and then have the solar panels. That can just be put into the project cost and managed by one company, rather than having to split this up. So we found that with some of the dealerships that was a worry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, and there are funding options around that to fund it and so on. So yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks, Anita.
Thank you for joining us today. I hope you found this conversation really helpful.